Imagine you're working in a company and suddenly every employee can see every customer's email address and salaries and finance data. That's dangerous, right? So today I will show you how real companies actually solve this issue by using called something Unity Catalog in the simplest way possible. And trust me, after this video, you will able to understand it better than the most of the beginners. So let's get started. So let me just give you an example. Imagine this, you're working as a big e-commerce company and you have customer data, sales data and finance data. Now the problem is, should every employee can access everything? No, right? Because analysts need only limited amount of data access and engineer need full access of the data. So how do we manage this? That's where Unity Catalog comes in. So let me just clarify that what exactly the Unity Catalog with a real world example. So the Unity Catalog works in a simple level of hierarchy, that is catalog, schema and the table. So imagine this, a big office building. In the big office building, the whole building is called as a catalog, and inside the office building there are the floors. So each floor consider as the each department. So each department consider as a schema, and inside the department we have files and the data, so that we can call it as a table. This is the three level hierarchy which we will follow in our Databricks. This catalog hierarchy is useful for to organize our data in a manner. So this structure helps us to organize our data in a proper way. So now listen carefully. This is the most important concept in Unity Catalog. No usage and no access. What does mean this? So in Databricks Unity Catalog, if you want to access any data, you must follow this order. The order should be on your screen, which is in catalog. First you have to give the permission by using usage keyword, and then schema also you have to grant the permission to the data analyst or any person. Then you can select the table. This is the order if you want to access the data. If you will skip any of these steps, then nothing will work in a right manner. Before giving the access of the table or the schema to the analyst or engineer, you must give the permission to usage. You have to usage the schema and you have to usage the catalog. Then only you can select the table and give the permission to the analyst or the data engineer. So this is the flow. So without giving the usage, then nothing will work. So now let me just take you to the Databricks user interface, and there I will show you how we can create the catalog, how we can create the schema, and how we can insert the table into the schema, and how we can give the access the data to the analysts or engineers, and how we can remove the access from analyst or engineer or any other roles. So let's get into the Databricks user interface. So as you can see here, now I am in the Databricks user interface, that is SQL editor that I am here. So here what we are going to do, we are going to create the catalog, and inside the catalog that we are going to create the schemas. Then we can give the access to the data and remove the access. In real companies, how the companies give the access to which person can see which kind of data and which person can have the access. Only if I will tell you the example, data analysts only have the, they don't have the access to the modify the data or manipulate the data. They just read the data. And when it comes to data engineers have all access of the data. So how we actually give the access with the help of SQL? Let's get started. First, what we are going to do, we are going to create a catalog. So for creating the catalog, so you just need to like write this query, create catalog if not exist my company. So I have created the catalog of the name of my company. Then you can first use this catalog. For using this catalog, you just need to write the query is use catalog my company. It means you are using this catalog, And inside this catalog, how we can actually create the schemas are, so we can create the schemas like this. So I have created sales schema, finance schema, HR schema, marketing schema, and so on. So it means these are the departments. In our previous session, we have discussed about the example, like catalog is the whole building, office building, and inside the building there are the departments. So these are the, each floor we will consider as a department, right? So these are the schemas we can consider as the each department. And before accessing the table, you must give the access to the schema and the catalog before accessing the table. For that, you can use the usage keyword. So this is the keyword that you can use. So grant usage on catalog of my company to the analyst. So you are giving the access to this catalog to the analyst. So here I have just write the data analyst, but in real world companies, they have their own email address, like company email address. So that email address they will mention here, but we don't have any company access. So that's why we have mentioned this data analyst only. And the next thing that we are going to do is to give the access to the schema by using usage keyword. So the same analyst, we are giving the access to the schema as well inside the catalog. And then next we are going to select the table. So how we can access the table here is, the accessing table is this one. This query we will write like grant select on the table dot my company dot sales dot all is customer. So, so this data analyst that we have give the access to this table, that is Olis customer data set. So this is the process how we can create the catalog and how we can create the schemas and how we can access the table. And before accessing the table, before giving the accessing to the data analyst this table, before that we will give the access to that schema as well as that catalog. Then after only we will select the table to the analyst. And remember this, before giving access to the analyst any table, you must use the uses, you must use the catalog, and you must use the schema. And the next thing is, if I will talk about, for example, in our customers data we have customer email address as well as customers phone numbers. So we don't want to share with the data analyst that confidential data. For that, what we can do, we can create the view. So in that view, for example, in my sales customer data, so as you can see here, I have created the customer sales data, like customer sales data. Here I have the customer unique ID. So I don't want to show that customer unique ID to the data analyst. So for that, I have created only customer ID and customer city as well as customer state. But in my table, I have customer unique ID as well. So I don't want to show that to my analyst. So that I have created this view, and then after I have give this view access to the data analyst. For that, I will write this grant select on view my company dot sales dot customer data to the data analyst. So this is that I am giving the access to this view to the data analyst, so that customer can't able to see the private or confidential data of the customers. And the next thing that we are going to see, so I'm going to now giving the access to the data engineer. Before that, what I'm going to do, I'm giving the access to the data engineer to usage of this catalog, like my company catalog. And then I'm giving the data engineer access to this schema, finance schema. So for that, I will use usage keyword. And then here I write the grant all privileges on schema dot my company dot finance to the data engineer. It means, this query means what? Data, I am giving full access. Full access means everything, like full access of this my company and the finance. So in the catalog of my company, into that the schema of finance, inside the finance, whatever the data that we are having, finance related data, all privileges on schema means data engineer have all the privileges. It means he can modify the data or edit the data or delete the data or add the data. And he has the access to who can use this data and who can remove the access, who can grant the access. Everything data engineer have. So for that, we can use this grant all privileges on schema and the file path to the data engineer. And the next thing is, for example, in your company, one of the data analysts, he resigned or he shifted one company to another company. In that case, you should have to remove the access of that analyst or that data engineer. For that, you can do this. You can write this query like remove select on table my company dot sales, and you can see here all this company data set from the data analyst. So we are removing the access of data from the data analyst. And if you want to remove the view as well, you can write this query remove select on view and the file path catalog and the schema path then from the data analyst. So this is the process that we will follow in our real production data pipelines in the real companies. Till now we have learned about how we can create the catalog and how we can create the schema inside that and how we can access the date table. And before accessing table, we will use that catalog and schema with the help of usage keyword, and how we can remove the access as well. And now we are going to learn some of the data engineering tools. For example, you have to give the access to the data engineer to like how we can modify the data, how we can add the data. So these are the things that we are going to learn now. If any data engineer or analyst wants to create or create the table or views, for that you can use this query create on schema my company sales dot data engineer. So with this query, if you can give this query to this data engineer, so this data engineer have the access of creating tables as well as views inside the schema. And one more thing, a data engineer wants to update any data or delete the data. For that, you can use this query grant modify and table and the file path to the data engineer. So this, if we'll give this query, the data engineer have the access of updating or deleting the data on this all is customer data set. And if you want to add new data, so in that case also you can use this grant insert on table and the company file path. Data engineer have the access of adding new data. For the remove, you can use this grant delete on table. For the particular table, for data engineer wants to delete the any particular table or any particular data, in that case you can use this query. And if you want to modify specific rows, in that case also you can use this query grant update on table to the data engineer. And if any analyst need to create their own view, in that case you can use this grant create on schema. So in that sales schema, data analyst can have the access of creating views or the tables. If you want to give the full control of any admin, so in company one of the admin like manager or VP are there, so he have the full control of the data. So he has to choose for whom can I access this data or whom can I remove this data. So for that, for full control of the data, you can use this like alter the schema like my company dot skills to the owner of the admin user. So admin means like you can imagine like a manager or VP. So that's all about in this video that we have learned about like how we can create the catalog, how we can access the data, and how we can create the schemas, and how we can remove the access, and how we can give full access to the data engineer, how we can how we can give the limited amount of access to the data analyst, like hiding the mobile numbers or email addresses of the customers, and how we can modify data, how we can give the full control of the data, each and everything that we have learned in this video. I hope you learned something out of this video about the data breaks, like about the grant and revoke, how we can build the pipelines in the real production, in the real companies. In the next video, we are going to learn about how we can create the dashboard, how we can generate the insights into the Databricks. Till then, keep learning and keep exploring. Thank you so much.